Hello and welcome. Today I'll be presenting the very first installment in a project called Moto-Files. These videos will be a documentation of my experiences in owning this car. This car in particular utilizes a technology that many deem unsustainable, and in today's video I will be briefly talking about that exact technology, where it all started and where it ended, and if there would be a world in which it could be utilized again. I however won't go into full details about this technology as I'm not an engineer. I can only speak about how this car impacts me with my own experiences and things I enjoy about it. I will give my overview of my distaste and places where the car could be improved on throughout the series. It should be noted that throughout this project my car is not in immaculate condition, and with that being said, this is Moto-Files. The RX-8 in principle is an amazing car, a naturally aspirated vehicle which revs up to 9,000 RPM with a near 50-50 front rear weight distribution. This car should have been adored like its predecessors. Not many cars could boast of having those kind of specifications, and those that did have similar specs are easily regarded as being legendary vehicles. But the RX-8 wasn't. Instead, due to its reputation it garnished over the years, it got exiled from what's supposed to be a modern legend, coming from a background of well-built vehicles. But that was just it. Because of its heritage, it was being compared to what came before. The RX in many ways is unlike anything Mazda had recently made, and because of that, it may have been its undoing. A lot of things changed in the 2000s. New emission regulations and safety were introduced across the world, and every manufacturer would have to meet it. Some may cheat and lie to sell the cars, whilst others had to compromise what made theirs so special. It was a time for car manufacturers to experiment.
Well, it's got to be beautiful to somebody, somewhere.
And that trend wouldn't exempt Mazda. They made a shift into making the RX-8 not only sports focused, but to make it more usable for daily driving. Due to safety and consumer demands, Mazda started with making it 4 doors. The RX-8 wasn't the first rotary powered vehicle which had 4 doors, but in the recent decades, the 2-door coupes was what it was well known for. What they deemed as being more stylish, they made the rear doors open up like old British cabs, and naming it freestyle doors. With more safety features being added to the car to meet regulations, all of it combined impacted the weight of the RX-8. The ban on pop-up headlights, which faced every generation of the RX-7, would also need to be scrapped, another indictment on its name, and in turn fixed headlights to be the standard of all modern manufactured vehicles. A lot of these changes may deter many people, but I don't believe that was enough. There was only one aspect that truly compounds the RX-8 negatively above all else, and that is its engine. The Rotary engine has always had its drawbacks, from bad fuel efficiency, needing constant oil and coolant top-ups, needing early engine rebuilds compared to pistons. If you're someone who just wanted to go from A to B with no fuss, a Rotary engine vehicle would be your enemy. The Rotary has always made a car high maintenance. You would even look down on the technology, viewing it as something that should have been left in the past. Yet people were still willing to deal with all the issues they had, and they still are. Cars from the 90s and 80s and beyond which are Rotary powered, no matter the condition, are still highly sought after today, and you can see the reflection of it in the current market, with the RX-8 being the far cheapest entry to owning a Rotary, which should highlight its position among the rest. And so for the RX-8 developed a new engine. Its name is the 13B Renesis, and in order for it to exist, Mazda had to do a lot of work. The turbo which made the Turbo 2FC and FD so famous was removed. The solution was to up the engine's compression, allowing it to rev up to 9,000 RPM. The apex seals had to be shorter and lighter so that the rotor can spin even more fast and freely at higher RPMs. But because of that, it meant that the apex seals were a lot weaker, causing early engine detonations. The rotor housings lost its peripheral exhaust ports and was opted to having side exit exhaust ports on the irons. Along with a restrictive catalytic converter which helps mitigate carbon pollution, it caused the airflow of the engine to be tight. All this meant was the RX-8 was at its limits in terms of breathing, so if you're going to try squeezing any more power out of its engine, all you get is a broken one. There is a limit to the amount it can be pushed, and for many that limit isn't enough. With the older Rotary generations being able to take more than double of what the Renesis could, it made the engine feel like a step backwards rather than forwards. Because of this, it made car enthusiasts think twice from even looking at the car, let alone touching it, with even more and more reports of early detonations from owners who tried to slap a turbo on it, to those who didn't even change its oil in the required time frame. The RX-8 was branded as the weakest Rotary engine in people's eyes. It cost a lot to maintain it and a lot more to repair it. And the stigma is even more evident today, with the RX-8 being the last Rotary powered vehicle manufactured. It got branded as the ender of all Rotaries. And with that being the point of view, regardless if it's right or wrong, its fate would be sealed. The RX-8 would be seen as Mazda's biggest failure. A lot could be learned from this situation in all aspects of life, even more so today. If the core fanbase of what you produce don't like what you've made, then the general public's perception would also gravitate to the ideology. Even though the RX-8 had amazing handling, great storage space, a responsive engine, comfortable and stylish interior, and it was an approachable sports car for beginners to practice their wheel drive skills and get into advanced driving, for many it felt as though the very soul of what the RX vehicle should stand for was ripped out. In terms of styling the RX-8, it is a subjective topic, but I suggest on finding body kits which are simple and aren't too loud, the kind that complement the car rather than standing out. I believe those to be more appealing than RX-8s, and body kits are expensive, and if you are someone who wants to make visual changes to your car, I'd say there is no shame in putting front lips and side skirts. In my opinion, I do like the look. It looks more race focused and having a lowered never hurts. Pair them up with aftermarket spoiler, wheels and tyres, and I'd say you get the perfect RX-8. With the RX-8 now being a platform 20 years old and having a lot of research and development put into it, the glaring issue remaining would need to be solved, and it's no surprise that there are people looking to fix it. One person is Narmo Racing in Mazda Trace with a 13B hybrid Renesas engine. The 13B hybrid Renesas engine, in a simplified way of putting it, is combining a 13B GSLC rotor housing with a Renesas iron. The reason why the Renesas engine combines well with the GSLC is, unlike the FC and FD generation, the GSLC has the coolant seals in the housings like the Renesas. Next, you use the rotors of the Renesas and shaving the top of it to spec in order for the OEM RX-7 Apex seals to fit. What makes the 13B hybrid Renesas so appealing? In theory, it is a seamless fit. It helps open up the engine a lot more, allowing it to breathe better, helping to rectify areas where the carbon and heat notoriously build up on the stock Renesas. Through this, when we need to do a major engine swap in the RX-8 to try getting more power, and ideally when we need new engine mounts, transmissions, exhaust and a lot more other major components. But some internal items will need to be introduced, upgraded and changed, such as a standalone fuel management system, intakes, new exhaust flange and manifold, fuel pumps and ECU. Another channel planning on putting a hybrid Renesas in his RX-8 is Rap Potential. With not a lot of available information, he's taken the risk in order for this to work. So I suggest checking out his channel if you want someone's attempt in putting a hybrid Renesas together. He's an experienced Rotary builder, so if you're watching someone who has the skills on taking on a job like this, and maybe he might do something that's different to help further the development of the hybrid Renesas. The RX-8 wouldn't be perfect with only the engine being sorted. It has other points that need addressing, and there are channels dedicated to resolving and explaining those issues, with channels like Driven by Madness in Japan and Tuning, who take on an approach of maintenance and modifying their cars, but also explaining the reasonings and giving tips on what parts should be upgraded and replaced. Watching their videos, you get a better understanding of the platform, even if you don't own an RX-8. Mazda's always made efforts into bringing the rotary engine into the future. With emissions being a key factor during the RX's production, they knew that the rotary's time would be short, and in order to get ahead, they had to make sure that that wasn't the case. They attempted to make the RX-8 run on hydrogen as well as gasoline, by making the car a biofuel vehicle, which is a car having two separate tanks in which each fuel is stored in, and the engine being able to run on one fuel at a time. But at the moment there is only radio silence on that project. There are notable car manufacturers currently working on that field, with Toyota even racing a hydrogen-powered Corolla the past couple of years. For rotaries and other internal combustion engines, hydrogen and carbon neutral fuel will need to be sustainable, as that will be the only way for these cars to be kept on the road. At the moment, Porsche is trying to develop synthetic fuel to ensure that their cars don't get stuck in a museum and that they can be driven by car enthusiasts in the future. With the large resurgence in car culture the past couple of years, we may see a rotary-powered vehicle in the future, with Mazda already making a concept many believe is the RX-9, calling it the Mazda RX Vision and presenting it at the Tokyo Motor Show in 2015. The Mazda Iconic SP has just been announced at the Japan Mobility Show 2023. I've got to say that the prototype concept Mazda has shown at the Japan Mobility Show is beautiful. The front and rear fenders give me a lot of RX-8 vibes, while the rest of the car screams FD. It's amazing to see what a new generation pop headlights could be. If this is the car Mazda intend to make as a new generation RX-8 or even RX-9, then they've already succeeded. The way it looks is exactly what everyone expected the RX-8 to be. a two-door coupe with pop-up headlights, and a car that isn't prioritizing daily driving, but more of a sports-focused design. If you look at the current sports car Mazda are producing, like the popular Roadster ND, which focuses on a lightweight 50/50 balance, then you would know that Mazda are more than capable of making a new flagship vehicle which will feel amazing. Yet, I do still have my concerns. At the mobility show, Mazda CEO Masahiro Mura came out and explained that this concept would be powered by a two-rotor rotary EV system. But how is the EV system utilized? Well, at the show, the Mazda CEO stated, "The batteries are charged by recyclable energy sources and the two rotors are used as power generations and is powered by carbon neutral fuel." That's it, which leaves a lot of room for speculation and guesses. At this point, there isn't enough reliable information to make a verdict on, but if the EV is the main part of the car with the rotors playing as support, in my point of view, it really destroys the potential of what this concept could have been. It feels like 2 steps forwards and a giant leap backwards. And another thing, will it be rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive? For me, it has to stay as rear-wheel drive. It's what every RX is, and it should continue the heritage if it is an RX-9. Also, the concept shows to have paddle shifters, and I'm not against it being automatic. It just reminded me that a manual transmission should also be offered. If the iconic SP was to be released today, both the new Nissan Z and the Supra would be its competition, with Nissan having it at launch and even a standard handbrake, which modern vehicles are throwing away, which is a shame. Even the Supra doesn't have an e-brake, but Toyota had to introduce a manual version due to consumers demanding it. I believe the RX-8 chassis will become a popular choice in the future of grassroots racing and drifting if they aren't already. With the car being mass-produced and priced as low, it'll be an appealing choice and a deal too good to turn down. Other notable chassis that will be on the list for me are the BRZ86, NC and DMX5, Nissan Z, and the E46. I am excited to say I own an RX-8 and plan on making videos with it. I plan to install parts and give my honest opinions on them, whether I believe they are a waste of money or not. The way I see it, no matter if it's Mazda wanting to make it an EV or others wanting it to have a piston engine, I believe an RX should always stay as a rotary, and if it'll never come back as one, I believe the name should also be put to rest. But that's just my point of view. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and there is more to come with Moto-Files. Thank you very much for watching and take care.